Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Schreiber, and I'm here to talk to you today about a new Alma-Tipasa integration. I work at the Art Institute of Chicago Museum Research Center, and in early 2025, we made the decision to move from Iliad to Tipasa. We've been using Iliad for years and years, but found it was time to move on to a more modern solution that was easier for our staff members to use. The project team consisted of myself, the Associate Director for Digital Research Systems and Strategies, as well as Anthony Morgano, our Associate Director for Access Services, and Abby Adams, our Stacks and Fulfillment Manager. In the Research Center, we've been using Alma and Primo since 2017, and we're aware of existing configurations that would help integrate with Tipasa. However, our implementation team approached us with an opportunity to utilize a new option that had been developed that would allow Alma and Tipasa to be more closely integrated. After discussions, we decided to move ahead with the new fulfillment integration. And today, I'll talk to you more about what it is, what benefits it offers, as well as covering workflows and the pros and cons we've noted since going live in April. First, what is the fulfillment integration? It's an integration utilizing electronic messaging protocols to push borrowing requests from Alma to Tipasa. In order to be successful with this integration, you must also use the circulation integration functionality. Setting up real-time availability is recommended, but not specifically required for the messaging and updating between Alma and Tipasa. So why should you use this integration? Overall, the fulfillment integration streamlines work between the two systems and comes with some perks. Namely, there's no user data load into Tipasa. You can use native Alma request forms and letters that your users are already familiar with, and users can now see all of their loans in one view with no need to switch between Alma and Tipasa accounts. You'll notice I have an asterisk by Alma letters because there is one letter in Tipasa you must use to enable article exchange notifications for digital requests. Now, let's talk about workflows, specifically the borrowing request workflow. I'll start by talking about the ILO request form in Primo. And this video will walk us through a blank ILL form demonstrating its responsiveness and how it adapts to the selections the user makes. So we can see here, if I click over to article, I now have fields for article title and journal title. And if I go back to book and then check I need specific chapters or pages, I can see here now I have a field for pages and my format automatically switched to scan. If I uncheck this box, we'll see my pages field is gone and it's switched back to loan. Now, if that was a little fast for you, I'll play it one more time. I'll also mention here that the fields that display in the form are customizable, and you can also customize which fields are required along with editing the field labels. So what you see here is what we chose locally, but you can make different decisions as well. Okay, now let's take a look at how the form is populated. In this first example, I have a book that's currently checked out. We have our display logic rules set to allow users to request an item for ILO when this happens. When you click on the interlibrary loan request link, Primo will automatically populate the form with the bibliographic information, as you can see in this inlaid screenshot. Alternatively, users can also search from WorldCat to find things not in our catalog, and then use the request item through interlibrary loan link to be sent to Primo to submit the request. When you click the link for the ILO request in this inlaid screenshot, the information populates the same as it did in our last example. When the request is submitted, Alma will then push the request to Tipasa using the fulfillment integration. The status of the request becomes request sent to partner. At this point, all further work on the request happens in Tipasa. This screenshot shows you what the request looks like, and at the very bottom, under the section ISO log, you can see the information on when the request was pushed from Alma to Tipasa. For physical materials, when they arrive, we receive them in Tipasa, loan the item out in Alma when it physically arrives at the circulation desk. The circulation integration handles the messaging back and forth between the systems, and the item barcoded is updated to the request ID when received. For us, Tipasa generates the notification after 1 hour to the patron, letting them know the item is ready. Now, we opted to use Tipasa notifications, but the same can be configured in Alma using native letters. We made this choice due to some complicated and picky rules we have about notifications in Alma. For us, it was easier to use Tipasa than to mess around with even more complicated XSL rules in our letters. On this slide, we can see the request details, including information about the letter being sent, as well as the barcode being updated under circulation history. And here is a view of what the requests look like to the end user when loaned out. I have here in my account a regular stack item checked out to me, followed by a supervised use interlibrary loan item, and then a regular interlibrary loan item. This demonstrates how they all show in one account and how we use locations to help aid users in understanding which items are interlibrary loan materials and which are items from the library itself. For digital or scan requests, these are sent to Tipasa the same way as physical requests, and delivery is handled via article exchange notification directly to the user. As I said earlier, this is the only Tipasa notification that must be enabled. And just to mention, lastly, we have lending requests. These are processed entirely in Tipasa. We bypass any formal procedures in Alma, and we just check the item out to a pseudo patron. Okay, and now we have our pros and cons. Pros. Integrated accounts are a huge hit with our patrons. They love being able to see everything in one place and not having to worry about multiple logins to see what they have loaned out to them. Also, it's made access so much easier for our internal staff. We no longer have to log into VPN, go through a remote desktop, etc. Additionally, the cloud platform is just easy to work with, and staff really enjoy it. Previously with Iliad, because it was set up so long ago, it was working, but we really didn't have a strong understanding of why. So having this new setup really empowers our staff members to feel comfortable and confident in what they're doing. One of the biggest pros for us was the fact that there is no patron load into Tipasa. So at the museum, we do have some centralized departments, including our IT. What this means is they serve not only the museum, the entire museum, but also the entire school at the Art Institute. This means they're really busy, and they made it pretty clear to us that they weren't sure when or if they'd have time to help us create a new patron load file to go into Tipasa. Lastly, our turnaround times have increased. So we're getting things, sent out and received faster than we had previously, which has also contributed to user satisfaction. As far as cons go, there are a couple outstanding issues. First, digital requests don't close automatically when they're supplied. This is because the updating for requests is handled via the circulation integration, which was designed to handle physical materials. So there wasn't a piece built into it that would close those digital requests. Right now, we handle these manually. We do title searches in Tipasa and then go back to Alma and manually close the requests. Another outstanding issue for us is renewals and cancellations. These have to be manually updated. So a user can request a renewal or cancel a request from their Primo account, but our staff members have to take that information, go into Tipasa, and then manually either renew or cancel the request. It's important to note you could use the OCLC APIs to create a solution for this, but again, locally, we don't have the expertise, and our IT department is not in a position to help us with this. Because we're a museum, we're small, we don't have a huge load when it comes to these kind of updates, so it hasn't impeded us in any way. Another con that I would be remiss to not point out is that it does require a good amount of Alma knowledge when setting this up from scratch. Now, most of these configurations are things that once they're in place, you don't have to touch them again, but it does require quite a few different configurations to make things work. And lastly, a small thing, but again, I want to mention this. Any bibs that are created in Alma for these requests, they will show up on the authority control task list. Our catalogers have been very vocal about this to me, so I want to point this out just so everyone is aware. So while this presentation, it's not the time to go into detail about all the different configurations involved in setting the integration up. If you're interested, I do recommend reviewing my slides with step-by-step instructions that I put together for another conference. You can access these slides by scanning the QR code you see on the screen right now or going to the link listed here. And that's all. Thank you so much. Please, if you'd like to give session feedback, scan the QR code on your screen now. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. Always happy to chat more about this integration or help you with any setup as I can. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.